first of all, Charlie, I'm just happy to be sitting with you.
Thank you.
It's our first time in person, which is a thrill for me.
Yes.
This book is another wow. It's a New York Times. It keeps hitting and hitting and hitting, which means people keep receiving and receiving and receiving. How does that feel like for you to put something into the world? Were you wondering, are people still going to want this sort of
Yeah.
thing?
I mean, I was wondering,
Yeah.
definitely. And I made it in a difficult time.
Yeah.
And so you never know what people are going to feel till you put it out. And yeah, I'm really moved. Like I've been in DC and Boston and here now, signing them and listening to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, I haven't slept last night, but other than that, I'm tired emotionally because of the stories people have told me.
Mm.
Are so moving. And I've cried with people for days listening to their reactions to the first, because I've obviously done this in America before.
Mm.
So it's really, really overwhelming to meet people and hear them tell me things that, are quite either shocking or funny, or, you got the whole array of things. Men telling me how it kept them alive, women telling me, that they read the book with their mother. I mean, all these things. I suppose with the second book, I wasn't sure what the reaction would be, and so far, I'm amazed.
It's a lot to...
It's a lot to process.
I was going to say, when someone hands you their heart and says,
Right.
Charlie, look what you did for me.
Right, it's so brave of them.
Yeah.
And so moving to hear. And when you get the number of people doing that, I have to really pretend that each person is on their own with me, like you and I, and they're not in a queue. And so I really listen and try and give them my whole presence rather than just saying, here's a signbook. And the stories are so valuable and heartfelt, every single one. That it's such a privilege. And I never thought, I didn't think I'd make another book, and I certainly didn't think I'd be in a position where I was doing this again, hearing from people directly.
I mean, to hear someone say, oh, you just kind of said it in a way because you've heard it before, but someone say, I'm here
Yeah.
because of some words in your book.
Yeah, there were a few of those last night, even in New York. And I was wondering about New York, what would it be like? Because, it's, I suppose as an environment, I assumed that people would be more robust, more...
Yeah, tough guys.
Tough guys.
Yeah, and?
Well, what interested me was, and Laura, who's here, who I work with, saying you saw these guys approach, and they look like pretty,
tough.
Military or firemen, and then they just go, oh, tell me something really heartfelt about a journey they made with the book that kept them here. And of course, my eyes are pouring, their eyes are pouring, then they quickly, gather themselves in and walk away, just saying thank you. And it's really like nothing I'd ever imagined it would be.
Do you feel like, I mean, we talked about where we are as a world.
As a world.
Do you think, and your last book was during COVID, and it was, we were in another difficult time. How does it feel from your point of view, where we are now? Does it feel better or worse than then for you?
Gosh, for me, it just feels very different.
Ah.
I think, I suppose on one level, I write these things just for us, wherever we are in time, whether it's good or bad. The human condition remains pretty much the same, whether it's 100 years ago or 300 years' time. I think we operate very similarly. But obviously we go through periods of unrest and fear and all kinds of tribulations that vary, and therefore the book can speak into those things. But I think it is different now. There's as much fear and unrest as there ever was. I think possibly it feels, the first book came out, we were all together collectively going through this huge storm, whereas now it feels like we're more divided. We're more We've polarized in
Siloed.
various ways across the world.
You mentioned quickly that you were also going through a difficult time during this book, and I went back and looked at one of your interviews. I think it was CBS Sunday Morning when you were in your shed. And you know what I noticed? You took that puppy and put that puppy in a bag and took your dog on a bike ride.
He came everywhere, yeah.
And I thought about that and what kind of a connection and partnership and love was shared there. And did you lose your puppy during this time, the writing?
Smack bang in the middle of making the book.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Yeah, the beginning of this year when I was, trying to put it together, trying to keep together, and then coming apart emotionally. And I lost my mum sort of the year before that, so it's been a long journey of,
Well, you feel that loss because there was that. I mean, there were so many beautiful parts in the book where the little boy loses his friends and wonders if he'll find them again. Was that kind of speaking to what you were going through at that time?
The thing is, I think I make things from my subconscious.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I will write about what I'm going, but if I look at it now and retrospectively, I think, oh yeah, I see what I was doing, but I wasn't that aware of it. But I think I'd always wanted to. I remember in lockdown thinking, if I do another book, I want to say well done to everyone, because everyone is, humans are just amazing, and they are trying so hard in every possible way, given whatever situation they're in. But I remember thinking how well people done, and so I wrote the words, one day you'll look back and realise how hard it was and just how well you did, because I often think we don't realise how hard it is.
Do you ever think about comparing your life before all this, how it was simple,
it was
how you didn't have any worries or concerns? If you, knowing everything you know now, if you look back at that simple life where you didn't have any big worries, I don't think, which was better for you?
They're not, that you can't compare them. What I'm grateful for now, I suppose, is that I feel when I hear from people who chose to stay, if I hadn't done it, maybe they wouldn't have stayed. I mean, it's an amazing feeling that you happen to be in a messy room scribbling away and make something that can keep someone alive or give someone hope, or less lonely, or make them feel more hopeful, or encourage kids to write their feelings down, or get men sharing their emotions they wouldn't have done before. So for me, I'm very glad that I dared. I mean, it's that Roosevelt quote, about the critic, and it's that you're braver to be in the arena, sweating and making mistakes, not doing it perfectly. But guess what? You did it. You're doing. I think if you get the chance to do something that might help someone somewhere, then just do it. Even if your life before was much easier, simpler, less complicated.
That's right.
So I'm very glad that I've done it. But sometimes, I just feel the weight of things and read emails and, people ask, and, I don't know, I do events where people write and say, I would like to come to the event, but my doctor says I won't make it. So I'm just writing to you now to say I would have come if I could. And of course, you're just streaming, reading an email going, but thank you for the book. It's helped me on my journey, and I'm really grateful. I just, on a daily basis, weep. And then, have my iPad, I do a drawing and then email a drawing to them. And it takes 3 minutes, and then I'm glad that they feel more connected. I'm glad that I've done it.
You have a gift. I mean, you probably won't remember this, but you were here at the Today Show one day, and I wasn't here because my little girl was really sick.
I remember.
And this is so funny, but you took a paper plate.
The plate, yeah, I did.
And you wrote that you missed me, and I put it. It's in my office now, and when I look at it, I remember that time, but also what you have. And I mean, this is on my little girl's feeling so good now. So I mean, life is so crazy.
Yeah.
But to, feel that feeling that you're getting from people time after time after time. My daughter, myself, my life, my this. I mean, it's a lot, but you're really like very few people are saving or helping or doing by a sketch, by anything. I don't have a question. I just want to say
No,
thank
that's
you.
I'm so thrilled that she's okay.
Yeah. So thank you.
I think, I often wonder about this, and I think so many people do so many kind things that go unnoticed. I think I'm more noticed than others because there's a book and, it's talked about. But I think, there's so much courage and kindness in this world that we don't see, that goes on like a river quietly passing us by. So while I'm thrilled to be doing my bit, I think, so many do. I've got friends who are nurses and they're largely unthanked. And so it goes on.
Right. When I look at you now, I say, thank God he kept drawing. Thank God he didn't quit. Right. Thank God he could have. There could have been a million different times.
Yeah.
But when you trace it back, and I was thinking about when you said your mom passed, I was imagining you as a little boy growing up in this little rural town and, doing your thing. Your mom was a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah.
Was she with you? What were you an only child?
No, I got a sister.
I always ask people this question. I like it. If you were to describe your childhood bedroom, what was on the walls and was it neat? Was it messy? Did you have books or no books? Like, what was your room like?
It was a total mess, and I had posters everywhere. And I had this big poster of sayings, like a stitch in time saves none.
Oh.
Don't count your chickens for the hatch. There were loads. I just remember this. I'd literally forgotten. It was an amazing poster. There were maybe 50 different sayings, maxims, whatever they were, about life, and with a drawing to go with it. So maybe that influenced me,
Wow.
I just remembered that. It's so weird. And I had my own drawings I used to stick on, or other people's. Yeah, so it was very...
So you were drawing then as a little
kid.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing a terrible thing. We had an old wooden record player, and I remember scratching drawings with a compass on the side of it. I mean, what my parents must have thought,
When you were going through life, obviously you're creative, and a lot of parents want their children to do something that will at least pay their bills and get insurance. Right. When you were going on, and were your parents kind of hell-bent on you doing something practical?
My parents were actually amazing because they could easily have got quite serious about it and said, this is not a good career choice. But no, I think my dad always used to say, listen, I didn't enjoy my work. It was a means to an end. If you can find something that you love, then do it.
Wow. That was very forward.
Yeah.
I mean.
And my mum, there was no... I think they liked to see what I drew. But there was never a suggestion that you could make a living doing that.
They were just like, oh, good for you, Charlie.
All right, I'm sure at some point you'll be an estate agent or whatever it is you hope. But it's funny, isn't it?
So college was it was originally in your little mini plan. You went for a little bit, for a minute or two.
I didn't last very long, I kept trying and then leaving.
What was it about it?
I just felt like I had something to do and I wasn't sure what it was, but I didn't want other things to get in the way.
Okay.
So I kept going back and drawing, and then even at art college they was a bit militant, and particularly where I was in London, that the figurative drawing was definitely not the thing you should be doing. Do something, cut things up or be abstract. So I kept leaving and then tried to listen. I think a lot of me is just try to listen what it was I had to do.
To yourself.
Yeah, or the deepest part of me, just try to respect what you feel needs to be done and respect it rather than being told what you should be doing. And so I guess I did, and I still didn't know. And I think it's very important for us to give ourselves time to listen and to respect ourselves enough to get an instinct and a sort of an unction of something. But it takes time.
Right.
It's not loud. It's so easily drowned by life and paying the bills, isn't it?
How did you pay your bills when you were...
Okay, so I worked on building sites, and I was in London. I remember I did anything. I was a waiter. I did everything.
So waiter, building sites.
Yeah, and I must have done so many jobs.
What was your least favorite? most
That's
favorite?
a really good question. I was a hospital porter for a while in the Royal Marsden. I don't think I didn't disliked any of them.
Yeah, I bet because you were around people, you probably
Yeah, I
liked
just
that.
quite enjoyed
Yeah.
whatever it was. It was funny, and you know, some of the building site work I did made my hands so sore that at night I couldn't draw. I remember my hands shaking, thinking, okay, I should not, I should do something else, because I was trying to make drawings all the time, but I was mixing it up so
Yeah.
I could afford to, and so I made choices trying not to damage my right hand, because I realized that it was an important thing to keep.
So you were just probably barely making it, skimming the trees.
Yeah.
And then,
But I was also selling drawings. There were days when I sat in London drawing streets and buildings, and people would say, look at them. I mean, I had bad moments. Like I remember a lady coming up to me with her two children to look, and they looked at it for a while, and they walked away, and I heard her say to her kids, that's what'll happen to you if you don't do your homework. So there were low points, because I thought they were going to say something nice, but there were other moments where people would come by and go, "Hey, are you selling that?"
huh.
And then so I started making a living.
Oh, selling
drawings to strangers on the street. Literally, that's how I was.
And you traveled. I mean, I love that you went to New Orleans. That's my city.
I did huge.
What was that?
Drawings of jazz
you?
clubs, and I was in New York for a while doing drawings. I worked with a gallery in Green Street. They did stuff with me. I loved my time in America.
Yeah, bit by bit.
And I did. There was a gallery that showed my work. They put me in this old house in Greenwich. It's got the Gimbel Estate House, and there were so many people in there from Manhattan going out there to do special effects in the rooms, and I was one of them. And I was like a 25-year-old English person that didn't know anyone, and it was amazing. They were so kind to me, and they were, in that time in New York, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was, wow. And I was getting a ride out in the truck with them from staying on a floor in Manhattan out to Greenwich, and then this lady came, who was a press officer, I think, for what was going on, and she looked at me and she said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Charlie." She said, "So, where do you stay?" And I said, "Oh, just on a floor in Manhattan." "You're in Manhattan?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, okay, so you want to come stay with us?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." Sure, okay, I'll pick you up at 5.
Are you kidding?
No. So she's called Pam Miller, and she had a store in Greenwich, and she had foster children and parrots, and she had a station wagon, and she had a little store in Greenwich, and she basically looked after me.
Wow.
Yeah. And made sure I had, clean socks and I had enough paper to draw. And then she was one of these people in your life that come along and just a solid.
Wow.
She was an absolute solid.
Wow.
And her kids were in the Greenwich Fire Brigade. And
Oh, they were?
Yeah, and I remember going with them one night when they had to get a cat out of a tree. And, it was great. And so America was huge for me.
Whatever happened to Pam? She's someone.
She died recently.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
Wow. So you take your tour through America. You're making a living doing what you love.
Yes, I was making a living. I had galleries who represented me.
Yeah. So then what? You went back to England? Is that what happened?
Then I took drawings back to England. I showed in Manhattan as well.
Oh wow.
I was just living on a daily basis, wondering what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
I'm not good at making plans. I mean, I don't never know what I'm going to really do tomorrow.
Huh.
Seriously, or
Wow.
what I'm going to eat. I've always been sort of see how the day unfolds, see what it presents to you, respond to it. And so I was waiting for the next thing to happen. And that's how I lived for a long time, doing paintings, doing shows, until one day I remember feeling that, I'd like to use words with drawings. And that these characters kind of arrived who were talking to each other, and so I enjoyed the idea of words being with drawings, and that was a whole new thing for me.
Wow. Was your style always the way it is now?
No.
Oh, it was different.
It
was different.
I did big bronzes, and big oil paintings, and
Yeah.
I went through pretty much everything. But what I like about the ink is that you can write words and draw, and they're part of the same image.
Yeah. Did you ever fall in love along the way?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah. I had an American girlfriend that in the end she thought it wasn't You know, I was in London a lot of the time,
Yeah.
so I understood. And then I was in love with an Australian girl, and she went back to Australia and married someone else. So I think I've made many attempts.
Yes.
Uh,
Well put.
and I think, I think also my life, has not presented itself as particularly what I would call secure.
Mm.
If you live like I have done, and you're making drawings and by the skin of your teeth
Barely
selling
making
them,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not. I wouldn't say it's a particularly attractive thing to join with, and so I totally understand. And
When you went back to England and when did you get some steady work? Sounds like a strange word, but a way you knew you were going to get a paycheck.
yeah, there was never a paycheck.
Mm.
It has never been so.
Okay.
But there was a time I remember thinking when I was doing shows and I did my own solo exhibitions in London, where I felt, okay, maybe I can get the money together to buy somewhere to live.
Mm.
And then once I did, you kind of go,
Yeah.
okay, this is my kitchen.
Right.
And I have some mugs and my own bed. And
I have some mugs.
I know, but you have the basics.
Yes.
And you can
Very
invite
important.
people around and say, do you want a cup of tea?
Wow.
And so, yeah, that happened in 2000. 2000.
Mm. And then when you started, wasn't there a newspaper you were drawing cartoons for?
I did for this, for a couple of
Spectating,
but I did for them. But again, it was that was me just kind of having
Doing your
fun.
thing.
Cartoons were a way of making people laugh, but I always felt there was something
bigger, something
that I had to do, and I was again waiting and listening and what is it, and then I these characters. If someone had said you have to make something that changes people's view of themselves and gives them encouragement and helps men to realize that asking for help is brave, I don't think I'd have chosen them all. Or a little boy with an angry fox. Quite how this came about, and this gentle big horse has been something again that unfolded over time. And I used to post them on Instagram, and it was first. I remember doing the first drawing, the boy with the mole, and the mole saying, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and kind to the boy. All those drawings, I wasn't sure whether they would continue or whether they would make a book. But I remember engaging with people online saying, if they said this helped me, I was, oh, good, I'm glad. Or the military saying, we use it, please do. And it wasn't for a couple of years that I thought about it. And then I met someone from Penguin Publishing who said, I think you could do a book.
Yeah.
But I still was...
Still unclear. Wow.
Not sure. I said, is there a story here?
Yeah.
So it took a while. But, I think I'm much more responsive when I meet someone like you or someone in the street or whatever who says, like 3 or 4 years ago, I met someone who said to me that after the first book came out, she said, I work with kids who have very tough backgrounds. And you gave my boys permission to be kind and to talk about their own feelings without thinking it was a weakness. And I looked at her, and it was out of the blue, and she was sort of welling up because she said, and then she said, make another one. Well, hurry up. And then actually, oddly, I've had an email from someone, or been emailing someone recently, in Brooklyn, who works again with young people who've come from extremely trying and difficult backgrounds, and been cutting the book up and drawing on it. They've been engaging with the characters, and it's been helping them emotionally learn how to engage, how to be vulnerable, all these things. And she writes emails, and it's like, it blows my mind, that these people, I'm trying to arrange to meet, but she's on my trip here, she's gone away, but the feeling that you kind of made something that can help people navigate through a difficult life and respect their own voice and to say how they feel, and also to learn about what vulnerability is, what kindness looks like. It's a really, for me, it blows my mind. And so you know, with the book that I've just done, I would never have made it because I felt I should. I would never have made it because a publisher said, "Okay, let's." I would have gone, "No," because it has to have its own desire, its own voice, its own instinct. It has to need to exist. And up till, you know, so for a long time I kept thinking, well, I've done all these drawings during lockdown, and they were published, I would say, on Instagram, on my Instagram, and that's probably enough. Do we need to print these things, and does it need to become something physical? And then I realized that it did, because so many people say, I hold.
That's it.
I hold it.
That's it. Wow. Yeah.
It's a weight that I feel in my hand, and I take it with me, whether it's a kid who's struggling at school, or a nurse, or someone in an old people's home. They've all said this thing about they hold it, and they've drawn or write in it or underline things. So I did at some point go, okay, let's do this. There is something here now that I think has weight, and therefore I will do it.
There's one line in there, and I'm misquoting it, but it was something like, yelling at a flower isn't going to help.
Yeah,
her.
right.
But that's it. It's like, I feel like we're all racing. Why isn't this happening soon enough? This should have already been happening. But what you just said was so profound.
And why isn't it happening in myself? Why am I still like this?
Why do I still feel like
why
this?
It's the same old, and beat myself up. And, you know, and I've planted a lot of trees in the last few years in the fields that I bought, and I'm trying to grow a forest, really. But, you know, I sometimes that drawing came up because I used to stare at these things and go, please,
why aren't you
why are you taking so
Why did you want to have a forest?
Because I feel that it's a very good thing to do if you can, just for biodiversity, for wildlife, for everything, for the planet, for, you know, everything. So I love trees, and I like seeing butterflies and bees and all these creatures that have now come there. So, you know, it's a dream, and it's a very slow dream, but I did that because I recognized not only was I impatient with the growth of young trees, but I was impatient with myself in so many ways. And it doesn't achieve anything.
Anything. How do you still, like, just for coming here for this interview, we were chilling out. I love you. I was just looking at your book again. They're like, Charlie's downstairs. He's taking pictures of artwork. Oh, man. And I said, how awesome is that? Because what happens to a lot of people in life, they begin with this soft tenderness and this wild-eyed curiosity, and because of schedules and things and life, they lose the wonder. But you didn't. You haven't. You still are talking about bees and art that's downstairs and things that are all around, that I think a lot of people who've reached some level of success and realize there are time limits and don't have any more. I feel like you walk to the beat of your own drum.
I try to. I mean, I'm sure there have been times when I've been running around and not having time. But I think I particularly being here, that I think I frustrate the lovely people I work with, because they're always 45 meters ahead of me, and Laura's over there, and she because I'm taking pictures. Oh, look at this! And in Boston, there were outside these buildings that said, it's things about empathy and things about mercy and things about beautiful things everywhere that I can't not. And thank God for phones.
Yeah, right.
That you can. And
grab
downstairs, oh my gosh, this guy called Jorge, or his name he painted in the 30s. The ceiling.
Ceiling is.
I mean, I was just overwhelmed, thinking I'm going to be late for you, because it was just so staggeringly brilliant.
And we were talking in here about how we walk underneath that daily and don't look up. That's the difference. Like, it's a reminder.
Well, there's a wonderful security lady downstairs called Taylor, and she saw me, and she said, look at the, and so she shared her excitement and told me about the painter. And of course, you know, I think for whatever reason, I think I have more awe and wonder now than I ever did. I don't know why that is. For people, you know, I think people have shown me just just how beautiful they are, mainly on the inside. And I guess listening to people over the years, you know, I've learned so much from them. And I think sometimes we feel we haven't got that much more to learn. And then you open up your mind, like as you do, and listen.
Yeah.
And you know, even on the train from Boston to Manhattan, met this incredible. He fought in Vietnam. He had me in tears. His wife thought he was ridiculous. They were wonderful people, and I could just listen to them all day. You know, and I've got the email address, and hopefully we'll see them again. But I think for me, the wonder makes you open, and it makes you curious. And curiosity is such an important thing because there's so much to experience, and you don't have to go to another country. It can just be in the corner. And why is this plant lying on its side, and is it happy about that? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I enjoy it, and I enjoy being with friends' children who have the same response. You know, it's amazing.
How do you, we're talking about a lot of people with loss. How do you fill the holes in your life where loss has been? What have you done with your...
It's a really good question. I mean, I've lost quite a few good friends in the last 5 years as well. So, and I saw a photograph the other day of us in a gallery. There were 5 of us, and there are only 2 of us left. And I think to myself, firstly, that grief is a strange thing. And it has a life of its own. And I think you have to give it time and allow grief to move through you. And it's like a glacier that drags itself through. Or it's like it's lost love that moves like water through a rock. I feel that it's slow, but it manifests itself in such extremely different and varied ways on a daily basis. And for me, to recognize sometimes what that is. If you've lost someone and you're feeling angry, I think anger is such a huge part of grief. Feeling numb is another one. You're feeling utterly lost. And I think it's like a venom that does its own thing to you. And you never know what it's going to do next. And so for me, you know, to fill a void, I don't think you can ever just fill a void of the space someone has left. That space, I think, will always be there. It's like pulling up a tree. There will always be this where it was. But I think, you know, we have to allow the pain that it will always be there. We have to work out how to live with it and be hopeful and never deny what we feel, but also engage with life and the new and possibility and what could arrive. Because at the end of the day, I remember saying to Barney, who was dying, well, I'm not far behind you. It's not, none of us get out of here alive. So I think we have to try to, it's that duality of grieving and also moving forward when it's the right time, but never forcing it either. And you and I are different. You and I will process, every relationship is different. So every grief is different. And I'm saying all this like I know. I don't. I'm genuinely about most things pretty clueless. And people say, oh, you've done a book, you know, you'd be so wise. I'm not wise. In many ways, I think I see myself as, you know, I'm not on one side of the river saying this is how you manage grief. I'm saying I'm on the same side of the river as everybody else. And how do we do this together? And I think what I've learned most is doing things together is such a beautiful thing. And I was a very independent soul for a lot of my life, working alone, And the more I've lived, the more I've cherished interdependence rather than independence, shared vulnerability, daring to say this is who I really am and not worrying about it, saying I'm in agony today. I cried all night at the loss of my dog, or I had a dream about mum and she was, you know, all these things you are so important to share and not be ashamed of. The number of people, when they say to me and they start telling me their story and they start crying, and the first thing they say is, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry? Like, crying, tears are a beautiful thing. They're such an important part of existence, you know, and they fall for a reason. and they're your strength. And I said in the first book, they're tears of strength. And why am I saying all this? Because I think I don't know, because it's important. Right? And connection's important. And to see common ground is important. There's more that we share with each other than what, you know, that we have so much to unite us in this life. And we're all the same. Underneath it, all we want is to love and be loved and to exist and have a roof over our heads.
Just the basics.
Basics,
That's
you know, deep down.
Yeah.
And to belong.
To belong.
Right? That longing for belonging we all have. And I just hope that, you know, this world recognizes at some point that it's much easier to be friends than enemies. It's much more tiring to be an enemy. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Your book, which I have, and of course, like many, dog-eared and saved places, and you hate to do it, it's art. You're like, and I'm going to bend this page. Literally, when I say it, I'm like, sorry,
Have you bent some pages?
Of course. Always remember, it's called, I bent, let's see, a bunch of them, but this is, Love the River one. I love.
Oh, do
I don't,
you?
Oh, I love this. You know what?
That's interesting you love that one. I was always, should I put this in? Should I?
Oh, okay,
really wrestle with it.
Here's the one. I don't think even the river knows where it's going until it reaches the sea.
Right.
Because it's like when you said, I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow. I don't know.
No.
And, you know, I'm kind of on this new adventure, trying to, you know, start this business
Yeah,
and
look
doing
at you,
life.
right?
And I don't know where the next steps are, but I know it's flowing. Like, you know, the row your boat.
Yeah,
it's like
gently
down the stream. I feel like I've been rowing upstream for so long, and I was like, wait, I'm tired. Hold on.
So
Wait,
down is a really huge word.
And gently,
go with it, yeah.
and
Beautiful.
gently down, and merrily, merrily, merrily. It's all there, but
Nice.
that's one. I mean, I have a lot of them here. The one
let
about
the river
losing-
take you.
Let the river
you know?
take you.
Yeah, I love that.
By the way,
See, you see more in it than I do. You know, there's a drawing that you know, you're telling me what you've seen, and I hadn't seen that.
wow. By the way, is being such a student of like your emotions and yourself, is that from, because I want to be more of that, but is that just from, honestly, from listening to people and their stories? Is that how you come to understanding? Because I think, I mean, listening to me is the whole thing. You keep saying, why don't we're all the same, but I guess nobody's listening anymore.
I think we have the same basic, but we're also utterly unique. It's that strange idea that we're not all the same, but I think we have very simple and unified desires. But the uniqueness makes us fascinating. You know, and if you really, you know, we have a point of view. We don't have a view of existence. We only have this tiny point of view, and you have a point of view. But your point of view will differ, but it's fascinating. And even when we disagree with something, we can disagree well and love each other the same.
Yes.
And so I'm fascinated by what people think, and I don't feel the need to tell them that they're wrong.
Right.
I just want to know how they feel. And, you know, like I remember I was in, of all places, Botswana, right?
Wow.
In Southern Africa. And I was a long journey, but I ended up in the Kalahari Desert, staying in a mud hut. It wasn't even a mud hut, it was made of twigs, with bushmen, right? This is when I was traveling when I was in my 20s. And I was with a guy who was also traveling. He was a lovely African guy. We were similar ages. And we'd got a lift on a government supply truck to go and see these bushmen, right? And he had been raised in a village, a bigger village, with his African family, and they were amazing. And I'd met them. And anyway, there was a moment for us where I think one of us broke wind or something. Something happened, right? And we were both laughing at each other, and we got hysterics. And I was looking at him, and then he went really quiet. And he was looking at me, and I said, "Are you okay?" He just said, "We're just the same, aren't we?" And it was like this, like time. It was. I will never forget it, because we came from different continents, different colors, different experiences, the most different you can imagine, right? And I said, yeah. He said, this is incredible. I never knew this.
Oh my God.
Right? And I think from then on, I think that propelled me into thinking, well, but he was, we would talk often for long periods of time about his upbringing and what it was like, and to not have a bank account, not have anything. How did that feel? And yet he was so hopeful. His family, and all around that village, people were dying of AIDS and cerebral malaria, you name it. But he had this thing, and I was like, what have you got that so many people I know do not have?
Yeah.
And so for me, when people reveal what's inside of them, it never continues to fascinate me. And also how they navigate life.
Yeah.
How do you do this? So I think when I'm thinking of books, I think of conversations that I've had with people that I've learned from, and they didn't even know I was learning from them. I think we have so much to learn from each other, in conversation. If we just ask questions, really, how do you get through? How do you manage? What happened when you lost your mum?
Yeah.
How did it feel? How do you make ends meet? Are you ever frightened? Are you frightened of what's happening with the world? And if we engage more and more, the more we connect, I think, because we discover our vulnerability. I think if we all knew each other's vulnerabilities, like walking down the street in Manhattan, you see some pretty tough people, but underneath it all, that's just a
facade. Yeah. Walking around like that, just like at your book signing when they walked
There you go.
And you
exactly.
can see it. Well, I'm going to encourage, not that we need it, but let's encourage people to pick this book up. It is so beautiful. I loved your first one. I hate to say that I love your second baby more, but I think I love your second baby more.
Really?
This one, it's called Always Remember: The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse, and the Storm by Charlie Mackesy. Charlie, I love you. Thank you for coming to see me.
I love you too. It's funny, you say just one thing, you say the title.
Yeah.
And that took a while to arrive.
Oh, did it?
But I woke up in the middle of the night. Colin, who helps me sew the books together, his wife was very sick and they live in Ireland. So I went to Ireland for February and March. And I stayed in a hotel. And she was having chemo. It was really, the two little girls. And I was not sure, what to call it. And there were various ideas. And I woke up at 3 a.m. thinking of my mum and how she would always go before school, always remember we love you. And always remember you are here, and always remember and remember who you are. Because it's so crucial in these times of uncertainty to remember who we are, that we're loved, who we are, that we matter. When everything's flying around and you never know what's going to happen next, keep your center steady. In your journey, what you're doing now, you keep that, remember who you are, that you're loved and you're important and you matter. And you bring to this world things no one else can. That's the truth of it. And that's what kept him going, was him remembering that. So it's really my mum looking at me in the eye, doing up my buttons, when I was 5, going, oh, remember this. Wait, you can come back. We love you. Anyway, so that was why when you said the title, it hit me. I thought, I haven't talked about that.
Well, we love you too.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.